Hi all. Today we will take a look at the control flow which is introduced in Angular 17. So this is currently in the developer preview. So for trying out this new feature, I have created an Angular 17 application, and today I will be trying to convert all the ngIf, ng-for and ng-switch case with the new control flow. So first we will start with the app component.html. I have created two branches. One branch which is containing the ng-for, ngIf and all the structural directives, and a master branch which contains the control flow code. So let's compare both these branches and see what are the changes that we need to make when converting from one format to another. Let's start with the app component.html. So previously we had this ngIf structural directive where we used to check for the meta and the data. Since we didn't want to make use of a particular HTML tag, we were using the ng container, which is basically a placeholder and will be removed during the runtime. Using that, we used to add the ngIf. Now with the new control flow, we can make use of the @if, and within that we can directly give the expression, that is meta and data. And it is quite similar to the if else and if else if conditions which we make use within our TypeScript or any JavaScript. So within the if, you can give the tag which we need to render, which is exactly similar to what we had previously. And in the else block, we can even provide a replacement tag. In our case, there can be some delay when the meta and the data is getting loaded from our server. So during that period, we can display the tag that currently the data is being loaded. So the syntax is quite simple. If you go to the TS of this component, you can see that we no longer need the Angular common package from which we used to import the ngIf, or in case you are using ng modules, we used to import the common module. Since the control flow is inbuilt to the Angular templating itself, we no longer need to worry about importing the dependent packages. Now, if we go to the next component, this component had an ng-for structural directive. So previously, we used to apply this ng-for to a particular div element, and within that we used to give the let control of meta. So with the new control flow, we have a syntax for @for, where we can provide the list, that is the control of meta. And similar to previously, we had the track by, which used to accept a function. Here we can provide the track, and you can provide a property directly. In case you don't have any unique identifier within your data, you can make use of the inbuilt $index. So $index is already existing within the ng-for as well. Almost all the inbuilt variables which are present in ng-for, it will be available for the for control as well. Within the for loop, we can provide the exact div tag which we need to render. That is quite similar to what we had previously. An additional feature called empty has also been introduced, where we can actually provide the fallback element in case the array or the list which you provide here is empty. So in case my meta tag it is empty, I'll be planning to show that there are no form controls within my form. Previously, we needed to make use of something like ng templates and we need to check it manually. Now all those kind of things we can avoid by making use of the for. Here again we have the ngIf, which we replace with the if. So the syntax is quite simple and very easy to understand. Now let's go to the another component. Here again we have the ng-for. So again we can replace it using the @for, and list remains the same, and we are adding an additional track based on the index. And here again we can provide the empty, so that in case the meta.options is empty, we can display this particular option. Now finally, let us take a look at the ng-switch case. So previously we used to have the ng-switch directive, and corresponding we have the ng switch case and ng switch default. So here in this scenario, I am making use of the ng container to add this ng switch where we give the expression, and within each of the ng switch case, we will be providing the different values. And when this particular value is met, this element will be displayed. So in case the control type was drop down, then a particular drop down will be rendered. The same syntax has been simplified, and here you can see that we have the @ switch, and within that you can provide the expression, and you can define each of the cases where initially it is drop down, then the app drop down will be displayed. Then in case of label, you can provide app label, text input, drop down, all those things. And we have a default case as well. In case none of these conditions are met, like a new control type has been added, you can provide a default control for that as well. So one thing to note is that even though this looks similar to the switch case which we used in TypeScript or JavaScript, this does not fall through. So for example, in the JavaScript or TypeScript, we need to provide the break or return after each case, because it can actually fall through all this. Like if you don't give the break, in case we have the expression evaluated to drop down, it will display all this. It will execute all this because it will basically fall through. But in the case of the @ switch, it will just execute this statement and exit. So that's one difference between the JavaScript and the control flow in the template. So finally, let's see the application in action. So initially you could see that while the API was getting loaded, the fallback HTML which we gave here within the if, it was displayed, and once the data was available, it switched to the if condition and rendered this particular form. So within the form itself, we had given different fallbacks, like here in the dynamic form, in case the data is empty. So here I am going to empty the meta JSON. So now ideally it should be showing the no form controls tag. So here you can see that the no form controls is getting displayed, which we had provided in the empty syntax. So I have reverted the meta information, and within the country dropdown we have 3 options currently. Now in case this option list is empty, we had given a fallback here that no options text is displayed in the option. So now again we are going to the meta, and here I am going to remove the options, and once we refresh it, here you can see that the fallback option, that is no option, is getting displayed, which again we had given in the empty option. So by introducing the control flow, Angular has considerably simplified the syntax for that Angular template, where we do not need to depend on syntax like ng container, ng template, and the directives like ngif, ng-for, and ng switch case. And we can basically write code which is quite similar to what we write in the JavaScript or TypeScript counterpart. So hope you were able to get a good idea about the new control flow which has been introduced in Angular 17. See you soon. Thank you.